Hopefully everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes.
So moved.
A motion, have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's move right into PS1, resolution authorizing the reclassification of one position in the district attorney's office. I believe this is a typist to a senior typist. I got a motion?
So made.
Got a motion? We got a second, multiple seconds. Any discussion?
Yes, Mark?
Yeah.
How are you? Good. Mark, and I know that we're 5 months into the new budget. We didn't have an indication that we needed to change this last fall when we were doing the budget process?
Not necessarily, because at the time we had 2 paralegals, and we've now moved one of the paralegals down to, I think, a regular typist position. And this, we're also, so this would be basically adjusting that person's responsibilities because we're dropping the paralegal down. It ends up saving us, I think, somewhere between $12,000 and $16,000 a year. So I don't know if that answers your question. There wasn't, at the time we had, when we eliminated the second paralegal position, this adjustment became obvious we needed to do that, or felt we needed to do that.
I could shed some light on this. At the last meeting, we changed the position, the title from the paralegal to senior typist.
Yep.
This is now just moving the people into the senior typist position.
Yeah, and I said regular typist, I'm not saying.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No,
All right, you didn't vote either way. So
no,
let's wait and see.
you're giving them much salary, which I like.
Okay. Let's move on to PS2. Resolution authorizing budget modification, Sheriff's Office transfer from Insurance Recovery, Treasurer's Office to Automotive Supply and Repair, Road Division. This was a little over $8,000. Fortunately, it was not another deer. It was a downed tree, I believe, this time. So at least
It jumped right out there.
that deer is not getting us this time. Right? Knock on wood. They swerved and missed the deer, hit the tree this time. We'll go with that. Can I get a motion?
So made.
Second, multiple seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Any opposed? I should ask. Okay, good. Motion PS3, resolution authorizing budget modification, Sheriff's Office to purchase a full-body scanner. It's $162,000, out of which I believe Assemblyman Barkley's office acquired $100,000 for us. I get a motion on this one.
So made.
Second.
Seconded. Thank you. Any discussion?
I just had a question. Does it say in here where it's gonna be used?
I believe somewhere there, it's gonna be down in the booking area for jail.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank you.
I think it is under permission.
Yeah, probably in there somewhere.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, PS4, resolution opposing S6282, limiting probation fees. Dave, I'm gonna let you talk about this a little bit.
Sure.
Oh, wait a minute, can I get a motion? I
So
apologize.
made.
Motion, can I get a second? Seconded. Dave? You got
We currently collect a fee from people on probation for DWI convictions, which is based on a local law, which is based on a state law. The state law only allows for collection on DWIs, but we have for a number of years we've collected. Like this year, we actually budgeted $40,000 in revenue for fees. Last year, we collected $38,000, and we're at $17,000 to date this year that we collected. So in this bill, it's proposed to eliminate all fee collection by probation for everything. Some departments, some counties collect for drug fees, alcohol testing fees. There's a number of fees that we can charge for. However, we only collect for DWIs. If they pass this, the probation won't be able to collect anything other than restitution surcharge. So it'd be a big chunk. $40,000 for us, which I mean is quite a bit. Some departments actually across the state are saying it's going to be like a $200,000 or $300,000 cut for them. So it's big.
Okay, any further discussion?
David, you mentioned, and I assume I understood this right, if not, correct me if I'm wrong. You said other counties collect for different things. There's no state template for what you can collect and what you can't?
There is. In the past, we've tried to collect for more, however, we were advised that we really aren't supposed to be. It's, the way the law is written through the state, it's weird, because actually some county probation departments collect for fees on all supervision, which is really outside of the law. So I guess it just depends on how much you want to push it as far as what you can get away with kind of thing. And we were told that we shouldn't be collecting for anything which actually is covered under the law, which is DWI supervision.
Well, what's the penalty for the counties that are collecting? I mean, apparently they're not, they're not getting roses for Mother's Day, so what's the deal?
Right, we were just advised by legal here that in our county that we couldn't collect for anything else, because really you're outside of the law. It's always been like that.
Who advised that you shouldn't collect the fees?
County Attorney's Office. I mean, in the past, when the law was written, it was written by them to collect for DWIs, because that's what the law allows. So we were told we can't collect for anything outside of that.
I don't know why would we want to stop collecting the fees?
Can't you make it part of the plea bargain? If they waive any objections to any fees?
I don't think so. It can't be part of orders and conditions of probation to pay fees.
No, it's part of the plea bargain.
Yeah, I don't think it can be.
I don't see why not. The plea bargain.
I don't think you can do it. Then I think we would run into an ethical problem from our end. We're not allowed to settle civil issues with criminal cases, and that would be pretty close to the line. I think I'd want some opinion from somebody smarter than me about whether we could do that.
Well, how long have we been collecting the fees?
It's been, I don't think I have the date of the law, but I mean, it's probably been 10 years, 15 years. It's been a long time.
So we've been violating the law for...
No, we're collecting for DWIs, which is allowed under the law. We don't collect for anything but DWI supervision. That is allowed under state law. Anything else for collecting on any other kind of conviction, that's outside of the law. Some departments just choose to not follow the law and try to collect on everything. Not many departments do, but there's some that do.
I guess, why would we want to stop collecting the fees?
We're not. For DWIs?
Yeah.
We're not. There's a bill proposed. We're not proposing it. The state is proposing. Someone legislator proposed to stop so that you can't collect anymore on any fees. That's what we're doing. The resolution is to oppose that.
So we're not violating the law by not collecting the fees.
Correct.
But if we wanted to collect them, we could.
Well, we are for DWIs. We have
Right, but for everything else, if we wanted to, we could. We wouldn't be violating the law if we wanted to collect those fees. But our county attorney at some point in time in the history of the Oswego County has said, no, we don't want to try to do that. That's what he's saying.
because it's outside of the law, right? The law doesn't allow for that.
So the counties push the envelope, basically.
Correct.
But not Oswego.
Not Oswego.
As long as we're clear on that.
Yeah.
That's all we care about.
All right.
Let the other counties worry about themselves. All right, any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we've got one bid out. Kathy?
And Holly can help me out on this, but
Oh,
we have a bid
I've got it
in
here.
for a Trees 300, which was something that we budgeted for in the 2023 budget for the drone program. It replaces an existing drone that they can no longer, for the sheriff's part, they can no longer get the batteries or any of the pieces or parts for. So we sent it out. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 replies. One, they were able to disqualify the bidder because they weren't someone that could actually sell the merchandise for the price that they had quoted. They were the low bidder. So we went with this next low bidder, Unmanned Vehicle Technologies for $45,947.
Okay. We need a motion for that? I think we do, right? Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah.
We get a motion for that?
Oh, man.
We got a motion, we got a second. Okay, is there any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's go on to department reports. Yes,
Make one comment. I had I don't know if I want to say chuckle, but I mean, already you can't get parts for a drone.
Yeah.
And you think of drones as things that are recently,
The technology's
Purchased.
outpaces itself.
And
I
it's
think
already-
that drone is
we can't
probably
get parts.
5 years old or so, maybe even older. It's one of your
It's
first
older
drones
than
that you had.
Before,
Yeah.
before we took out the cities.
So it's even older than that.
Okay. It's just, I know, I realize it is the way it is. Everything's going so fast, so you just stop making that because now you gotta buy the new one.
Yeah. And one of the
That's too
drones,
much time.
Yeah.
One of the drones we bought last year is being serviced right now, but we bought the service contract with it, so it doesn't cost us anything to have it serviced. But that puts us down one drone in the department, so there's one currently that doesn't have one. So, always good to have additional ones.
And will that make our drone program fully staffed at present? Isn't it the only drone we're down in the county?
It is, right now.
Good. All right, let's start with EMS.
All right.
Joey?
Morning, everybody. EMS has been pretty busy lately. Lots of education going on. Our Fulton class has been pretty successful so far. Students are they're about halfway through the class, starting to do some ride time. This class is kind of new to us because we're using a new textbook, and we're a new edition of a textbook we have been using, but it's an accelerated class, so we're curious to see how students would be doing with the course load, and it's been going very well. Their practical skills exam date will be June 3rd, so they're about halfway through, and all 12 individuals are still going strong. Our advanced EMT class that we have had going on, we had to postpone that. It was supposed to start today. We had to postpone that to June 26th. The reason for that is the state hasn't approved it yet. And I say that saying the state, as far as our application is concerned, the class starts tonight, and the state has not approved it yet. So we elected to postpone that so we'd have more time to advertise and boost our enrollment in that class. We do have about 9 people already signed up for that on the June 26th date, and I've talked with the state about it, and we should have approval for that, so we feel pretty good about that. We've submitted paperwork to the state and got approved for another Mentor EMT Academy that's starting on May 15th. They're looking to have an EMT Academy with about 6 students, so that'll be starting May, and that'll run through July.
What's the age groups for that?
For the EMT, you have to be at least 17 to become an EMT. You can take the class at 16, but you have to be 17 by the month of which you test out. So 17 and up.
Okay.
And there's some, lifting requirements, and you must lift 100 pounds, stuff like that. But those are basically the only prerequisites for EMT. For advanced EMT, you need to have your EMT to take it, or your advanced EMT already to take it. So, hospitals seem to be doing a little better. We had a call with Oswego Health last week. They're doing pretty well. Usually when they go on diversions because of borders. Last week they had 11 boarders, which is of their 17 beds is a good amount. That leaves only 6 beds for EMS, right? So that's typically what's been causing them to go on diversion, but they've been doing a good job of trying to place those individuals so they can stay open for EMS. And that, I had the opportunity to participate in a HarborFest tabletop exercise that was hosted by Oswego City. So we are starting to gear up for HarborFest and getting prepared for that. That's always a big event. And, we work with SAVAC and Oswego City for the EMS side of that. And that continue to participate in a lot of regional, state, and countywide meetings.
Excellent. I'm going to jump out of order. Mark, do you have anything? I don't want to keep you if you don't want to stay.
No, I'll stay as long as you want.
Okay, I just didn't know if you had.
No.
Good.
Yeah, Nate, these classes, are some of these affiliated with city or BOCES or whatever you want to call it now?
So it's not pre-COVID. We looked into this.
Today?
Today, no. We have a meeting to hopefully get on board with the city with something like that actually on Thursday. In the past, it's become an issue of who pays for the instructor, and having an instructor that can do a time slot that would be required of that. I know Renee in the past has looked at evening classes, an evening EMT class at BOCES, and then COVID kind of derailed that, so that's something we are circling back around to. We're going to work with NOCA ambulance and start taking a look at that on Thursday. We have a meeting with NOCA about something like that.
And is there some funding to help with that? Because when I was reading through that, it was raining yesterday, so I looked at my BOCES or city book,
Okay.
And I was kind of surprised at what the cost of some of this stuff is, to be perfectly honest with you.
Mm-hmm. So coming to cost for that, it's a little early in the process. If something we are going to do about what would that be, we charge our EMT students $775 for the course, which
How
is
much?
$775, and we have to have about 10 students to break even. That's our break even point. And that $775 mark is actually pretty cheap compared to other classes, and that's even with the state reimbursement rate. So if fire department puts someone in their EMT class, they pass the class, that fire department can actually collect all that money back from the state. Our advanced class, we don't really have that luxury because the reimbursement rate's at $600, so agencies will have to pay a little bit out of pocket for that. But we try to keep our prices as reasonable and competitive as possible, really just to break even.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, because some of these students are economically challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And we
You know, it's
do
not
have-
like they're making $100,000 a year when they're done.
Yeah, and there's a program that we use through Workforce New York
Mhm.
that allows some individuals to take the course and they pay for the class. So it's paying for them to take the class and we're not out the money for the instructor fees if they don't pass it. Because
Mhm.
sometimes we can go back on the state if they're not affiliated with an agency to get that reimbursement back from the state. So there are some programs out there, but that piece for Workforce New York is also based on their income too. So it is income based as well. So we did have more in the first class that we offered through this program that took part from the Workforce New York.
This class we have happening right now out of our office in Fulton hasn't been a lot of Workforce New York, zero, because a lot of them are already affiliated with agencies or have alternate sources of funding, of avenues that are being paid for the class. So.
For an example, if you want to work for a Oswego Fire Department, you have to be an EMT before you even apply.
Mhm.
So some of the people that are taking our present course that we have are ones that are looking to potentially move towards either police department or fire department. So that's why they're taking the class. So.
Any other questions for me? Hey, I got something to throw in it. I don't have all the information, but Dave mentioned that there is another ambulance company that does work both in Oswego and Onondaga County. They're on the border somewhere, and they were looking to get some ARPA funding like we did for the one up north where we supplied all the equipment for their ambulance.
No, they're not on that.
North Shore is on the border of Oswego and Oneida.
North Shore sounds right. Maybe it's that one.
Okay, North Shore is in the village of Cleveland, so they're on our side of the county line. They do a lot of work in Oswego County and Oneida County. I haven't heard of any.
I think that might be the outfit.
Yeah, they're one of our smaller agencies out of the village, over by the school is where their station is.
Is anybody adverse to ARPA funding for a agency that serves both Oswego and, is it Oneida County? Another county? Anybody adverse to
Oneida
that?
County do.
No idea?
Yeah,
No idea.
That kind of answers my question then.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see what they're
The
paying
other
in.
counties give?
But keep in mind, Cleveland to Rome is not that far. You got a hospital there. Or even downtown Utica, the new Wynn Hospital is going up and everything else.
I know North Shore transfers to Oneida and Madison County frequently too.
That's a good question though.
Move
I'd
around.
like to see what they're, because because of their population and their economic difficulties down city, they got quite a lot of ARPA.
I can reach out to them about what their request is and see whether.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to see what the flavor in the room was for, because if we get if they actually put the ARPA request through, I wanted to know where we were at.
If you ever need any more information, though, just let me know.
I appreciate it. I just want to know where we're at with that. Okay. Anything else for you in this? All right, Kathy, let's move on to email.
Well, we already talked about the bid for the drone. I don't know if any of you had an opportunity, this past Saturday, they had a drone safety day out at the county airport. I wasn't able to attend, but I heard
It
it
was
was.
raining on it.
I know, and I heard they had a good turnout.
Did they
They were
have a good
actually able
turnout
to bring it inside, so there was still a good turnout for that. So it's always good to get some information out there, education piece for the drone program, as well as it was able to put the airport in people's minds too, so show the new area that they have out there, so. We continue to prepare for, we've got a couple exercises this year, our FEMA eval and our state eval is this year, so we're targeted on our RAD program right now. Phoenix Dam currently is in a high flow. It's not out of the ordinary, so they're just in their EAP, which is their emergency action plan for a high flow event, of course, after all the rain we had. So we're keeping an eye on that. There's nothing that we have to do on that. There's just some notifications that we make to Shane and some of our state partners. Let's see here. The only other other thing is we've got a couple grant applications in for the drone program. We're still waiting to hear from a couple that have some significant funding to them. So we're hoping to hear something from that so we can move forward with some of those other programs we're looking to do. That's really about all I have. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Don't we have a tabletop exercise scheduled?
We do. We have our mass fatality tabletop exercise, which is June 7th. Yep, June 7th, and that's at our office. You guys, if anyone has any interest in observing that, please let me know.
Is that gonna be 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock?
I can't tell you the exact time. I would say 9 to noon would be my guess. Let me look.
That's fine.
Okay.
We still got time.
We're getting ready to send the invite out, so we'll make
Okay.
sure that I can include you in that.
Mr. Castillo?
I'm just looking at the UAS, unmanned aircraft system,
Yep.
and it says 91 missions,
Mm-hmm.
and only 19 of them are county.
Right.
So the
So
other 72.
there'd be either the city of Oswego, or it could be also Novelis. But that just is trying to tell you that that's every time it goes up. So even if it comes down for a battery change out, that's a mission, it goes back up. So the rest of them, I can tell you what they are if I look at my thing a little bit better. But yes, Oswego City by far flies their drone more often than we fly it in the county. So that's everybody that's in our system that we pay for. And it keeps track of that because John has to, our drone coordinator has to file reports on everybody, every mission that goes up with the FAA. So that's the responsibility we took in the county.
So for instance, when they had the fire over on Bridge Street last month, there was 6 battery changes, that's 6 missions in their statement. So during that operation of that fire, it had to go up and come down 6 times for battery changes.
And it could have been county response and the city response to that.
All right. Good, thank you.
Question, Kath, when you do any tabletop exercise, whether it's mass fatality or it's radiological or whatever, do you incorporate anything about agriculture and movement of animals?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we have ags and markets included in the tabletop exercises for the mass fatality, because that's more people. But for our red exercises, Paul Forestier from Ags and Markets, participates in our EOC. And he is that piece of potentially helping with the Ags and Market side of animal movement if we had to, or animal protection, and has that ear to the state piece on that. Because that's more so a huge piece after the fact, after the plume settles. So when you get to the ingestion side of it, that is a huge state response in checking food and water and vegetation and byproducts like milk from cows has to be checked to see if it's even something that can be used. Has to still be, if it can't be used, it still has to be,
Dealt with.
yes. Disposed of, that's the word I was looking for.
I know when I was at the state fair, we used to have training every single year. The fire would come in and everybody about large animals. If you've got one that's upside down in a creek, you've got an accident that all of a sudden in the middle of the road, cows get loose or some that are half dying, whatever, and how to treat and how to do this. I didn't know if we're involved with that. We have that.
For the state fairgrounds, they still do that on an annual basis. They still have that training. Our program, especially our RED program, we utilize Onondaga County's OnCart program. So the Onondaga County Animal Response Team. I had to think of what that, I use a lot of acronyms and I don't remember that. So they're in our program too. So if for the radiological side, if anyone was to bring any kind of animal to the state fairgrounds, as along with their as a domestic animal, or maybe put on, or some type of farm animal, say they brought their llama, I don't know.
Yeah.
We have a plan in place that how we would put them through being managed from a radiological standpoint of monitoring them and potentially deconning them, but we leave it to the experts to do that because that's not something that we do, because every animal is different on how you could potentially do that. So they have a large piece of veterinarians in their system and their team that they work with that helps that process. But that's what we have.
Okay. I guess it's also shame you then if there's any accidents that all of a sudden you've got a trailer tipped over and how you react to it and how you respond.
Typically, with the trailer, we would check with the driver. They've probably got vets on staff or people that they normally would work with. We would help them mitigate that.
Okay. Do you go to that training?
I've heard, I mean, I knew there was large animal rescue classes, but I've never been, so I'd be interested in.
It was very, they had a lot of response, a lot of areas went there, yeah, and it's how to get a horse out of a stuck something or whatever, and it was very interesting, so I didn't know.
Do you get notification or?
It's usually on the state's website. It was 2 days this past year. We weren't able to go. It was on a weekend. It was a Saturday and a Sunday. We just weren't able to attend it, but we wanted to because, like you said, it was really dealing with large animals.
It was, yeah, it was, you know, because I know in Syracuse, we've had it where a trailer was underneath the bridge or something that came off and nobody knew what to do. So, okay.
We also have the Amish population that's growing here too.
Yeah, with the horses that you need to have, how do you respond and.
That's a big problem.
Yeah.
Serious conditions.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, let's move on to probation, please.
Pretty much everything's status quo. Our supervision investigation numbers are staying pretty stable. Our intake, our JD intake cases have actually gone up the last couple months, so for whatever reason, there's more youth being charged. But we're continuing to provide our programming in the jail. I've got a probation assistant who's retiring at the end of the month, and actually we have a senior typist who's on the list and reachable, so that's good. So we're going to be able to promote kind of within, and I think she'll be a great candidate, so I'm excited about that. And every year, Services to Aid Families, which is a division of OCO, they recognize an agency for their work with victims, and they recognize us this year with probation, so it's kind of neat.
We're good. Congratulations.
I took a picture and the whole thing, so, yep.
The other thing that's on the table is Bob Lighthall would like to retire again. And in light of that, probation has stepped up and agreed to take over the Stop DWI program. Because Herb won't retire and take it either. So, apparently we can't find anybody else, and David stepped up. And apparently they do this in other counties, so that's coming. All right, I think June is going to be the transfer date. Right? So that's on the table. Anybody's got any questions about that?
No.
Not quite sure about the details, how that's going to work out, but we'll figure it out.
So going forward, we'll make sure we get the new Stop DWI.
I don't think the sheriff can spare another retired guy to do something, right? You need him other places.
You're running a retired county.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. this Wednesday.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, fire coordinator, let's move on. If there's no other questions. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Castillo. There you go.
Out of 23 employees, how many do you have vests for all of them?
We do not, just our special services unit that goes out. There's 9 of them that have vests.
That's how many?
9.
9? And we don't think that we should have enough for everybody, or?
It wouldn't be a bad idea for those who would like to wear them when they go out. I mean, they're not carrying when they go out, the non-SSU officers, but it is an extra safety thing, obviously. They're extremely expensive. We do have a few that are no longer in use by special services that people can use if they really want to. We have like a few extras. Typically, people don't really use them, but no, we don't have enough for everybody to wear one all the time to go out. They have to be fitted individual for each person.
Right, that's, well, my point still is that the fact, like I said last time, that, when they go out, they're not going out to meet and greet people at Walmart, they're going out and the people are convicted, and I just would rather feel a lot safer. I know they're very expensive, but the loss of a life is, or having somebody get injured to the point where they're going to need to be in the hospital and possibly lose their livelihood. I think would be something that I would be in favor of, voting in favor of. So we'll see if anybody else feels that way at some point in time.
Probation has a request for them. Nobody's requesting them, right?
We could, yeah.
If you're interested in requesting, we can explore.
I mean, if we could use some of the ARPA funds to
I
do
think
it,
it's necessary, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few non-special services officers express interest in using some of the expired vests because they have, I think it's 5 years that they're good for. However, we don't wear them all the time like other law enforcement, so they don't break down as fast as they would when you have them on all the time. But you've got to be careful of that, about allowing anyone to use something that's technically expired by the manufacturer. So we'd have to be buying new ones constantly to keep up with, which, I mean, yeah, we could budget for that if we had enough people interested in wanting to wear them.
I'm looking at some of the ARPA funds for something like that. I mean, I just can't see not protecting the people that we have out there that are putting their lives on the line. I don't care where it is, we're public safety, and sorry, our people that are out there protecting, the public. I just, I'm not against spending some ARPA funds for something like that. It's one of the few things that I vote yes for.
I mean, our special services people obviously are required to wear them because they're the firemen, but we could
You
survey
never know when somebody's gonna need one going anywhere at any point in time.
And just to add to that, we do, on an annual basis, our State Homeland Security Fund, we've bought those before for the Sheriff's Department or Oswego Police Department or Fulton Police Department. So, I mean, Dave, that'd be something for you to get included into that grant application on an annual basis if it's something that you need. Because quite a bit of that money has to be spent on law enforcement activities. So we'll make sure you can find it.
Thank you.
Mr. Yurden.
And if we'd do that for probation, I guess we'd have to do that for the human services. So when the caseworkers go out in the field, they probably want vests too.
You're talking about two different.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are, because we're talking about somebody going out that's going to, they are a definite probation, which means they are convicted at one point in time and they're out on probation right now.
Doesn't make them dangerous, though, Frank.
Huh?
Everybody on probation is not dangerous. Let's be clear about that. I just want to be clear on that. Mark, would you agree that everybody on probation is not dangerous?
You don't know from 1 minute to the next. I'm sorry. Okay?
Well, I asked.
Go ahead and ask, Mark.
I would say if your definition of dangerous is violent, yes. The world is dangerous.
Of course it's
Yes. So violent, not everybody on probation is violent.
Thank you.
You're on default.
Thank you.
Can I just say, if you're carrying a weapon, you should have access to a vest.
Right.
I agree with that. They do. And they do, right? The ones that are armed have a vest.
Absolutely.
That's been the standard practice. Although I don't think anybody in this room would be opposed to having some vests available, not for everyone, but a vest available if they were going out and they felt they were in danger that they could slip a vest on. But I would say that they probably wouldn't be in this field if they felt threatened without a vest. That being said,
I think that you might,
when you think,
you ask them, they're going to be asking for.
A lot of times when the caseworkers are going out, they're dealing with the same people that probation is dealing
if not worse, right?
with. Sex offenders, they're going to go home. I'm just saying that we open that up, we ought to look for caseworkers and human services also.
Something to think about. I would think that.
I got no problem with that. But don't say, I'm just saying, it is two different avenues, but we're sending a police officer, we're the ones that are worried, we're sending it, an officer, we're the ones that are worried about, that are going in, and I wouldn't blame every caseworker that goes out. You're going into a home, I think there should be a police officer with them, anywhere. Because you never know what's gonna happen when you're talking about anything to do with children. Yeah, I know, I'm just saying, I agree with spending the money on the people to protect them.
I don't think the sheriff has enough people to do all that.
Well, maybe we have to hire more.
Where you're gonna get them from, Frank?
Yeah.
Hey, good luck.
You don't want them coming in from the border, where else we're gonna get them? They can't take a job anyway if they come across the borders. Nobody can take these jobs.
China start their own police department. They need stuff out.
There you go. I understand this point. I get it. People are frightened. Perhaps they should have a vest. I'm not opposed to that, but I think the request should come from your people, not Mr. Castillo.
Sure.
That being said, appreciate the discussion. All right, anything else?
Yeah, if I can.
Sure.
We have a few issues. I
Yeah.
brought it up before. We need to know the next step in the medical. An RFP, Rich Mitchell had mentioned possibly an emergency contract.
Yeah, didn't we were waiting on you guys to settle, right?
Well,
Research what we were doing. I don't know
We
where we're
were
at.
told that we can't proceed, it's gotta go through,
Who told you that?
Well, we're at the stage where we have the packet from the company.
How many companies were solicited though? Just one?
Purchasing went through one, Wells. I was told that we couldn't be involved in soliciting any companies because it's a purchasing thing. So we sent everything to purchasing and they solicited Wells.
Can you reach out to Holly on your phone? You have let's get Holly back up here since we're gonna have to.
I'm sure if they reached out to anybody else, I'd be aware of it.
Matt, you want me to just go down?
Yeah, please. Maybe Rich, if you could give Rich a call, let's
Sure.
find out, let's get the people in here that have to make the decisions in the room, so that we can decide right now.
Are you not gonna take any action? I can go get it.
Well, we will take a momentary pause.
Don't vote on anything.
I got something that doesn't need to be voted on. Well, I say it doesn't need to be voted on, it's not resolutionized. So, Kevin, Cooley, and myself were talking one day last week about maybe potentially having public safety down at EMO next month, if you guys were available and consider that. This is just a couple things.
This is a discussion you should have, and that's here.
Yeah, you
Because he's the guy that's
Well,
got
you
to
guys just
report
think
and
about
document
it,
it.
that's
Yeah.
all, just because we wanted to show you.
I know we've
some
done it in the
stuff on
past, but he would have to make the
Yes.
arrangements.
Yes, that's fine. I just thought I'd put it in your brain ahead of that.
I'm not sure, another issue that we have to figure out what we're going forward with is this housing out bill. I know you're.
We're gonna have to pay it. We're gonna have to pay it. I mean, we don't have a
Probably,
choice.
we're talking $85,000 every 3 months to house. So we're gonna look at some options, one being, we get the corrections commission in to look at our gymnasium that they won't let us use for anything else. And see if we can somehow alter the bathroom situation down there so we can turn it into some kind of housing unit.
We used to be almost $1 million of housing out. Budget before I came in was $1 million.
The bill was, $1,000. I know they did a lot, we've tried not to house anyhow.
I know.
We're
you guys
now,
did.
we're
It's
averaging
been
about
great.
12 females in Ontario
Yeah, it's
County
been great. But I'm just
for the last
saying,
year.
John,
The first
Yeah,
year I came
she's
out,
been
the
working
year before it was $1 million.
Okay.
That's not it.
So the conversation came up about the contract with the medical providers for the jail. Where are we at with that? What needs to be done? Do we have to have multiple bids? Can we just do one bid? I mean, something has to be done, right?
I
So-
thought we were piggybacking off of it.
So I think we were
I
gonna
think we need to know
do
what's
an
going on.
emergency contract for a year, is what Rich told us, and then possibly go out to bid with it.
Well, we would go out to RP or bid.
Yeah,
Yes, but I mean, if there's a need that's, they need to have contracted
Urgent.
right away,
Right.
they can do that.
Okay.
And the question, moving money in the budget, things like that, they would need
Well, I
to.
guess we need a number, right? I mean, I don't think we have a choice in this situation. do
We have a number.
we have a number.
But we're pretty much, we're kind of
One line.
between a rock and a hard place here.
It's a big number,
It's a
but
very big number.
I know it's a big number, but somebody spit it out, because we can't say go ahead if we don't know it, right? We have to bring it forward. Does this have to be a
Well,
resolution?
we can get it in resolution form and then
Oh, it's
maybe
not
have
that
some.
urgent. We can have the
Well,
discussion today.
you could do it, if you want to do it at the next meeting, we can get resolutions drawn, budget mod, things like that, and then have an info memo to go with it.
Okay. I thought it
And I
was
think that may
pretty
be cleaner way to do it.
good. Okay.
We have to wait till next month?
No, you can do it this month if you have a special meeting or waive the rules
Okay.
to add it, but really you should have a resolution before you would.
Sure, well, we can still have the discussion now, though. Do we need the resolution to
You can
discuss?
certainly have a
That's our
discussion.
purpose, was to have the discussion.
You certainly can have a discussion,
We'd be moving
yes.
forward towards resolutions.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
$2.65 million, and that's not like a guaranteed contract. I think purchasing might have, be more familiar with the way the contract is or the proper terminology is. But that would be, for anybody who's not aware, it's taking over all the medical, all the math program, putting an administrator in the facility. It would take not all the liability, but it would take a lot of liability off the county, and it would improve the medical in the jail immensely. And the problem we're having is we can't hire anybody in the jail, our med program. The doctor who normally just runs the medical is trying to also run the MAT program at the time, and I feel it's inadequate for what the state is looking for. And it's the drug treatment, to keep people that come in on drug problems on their drug programs, and to have a follow-up plan when they leave the jail, hopefully so that they don't go back out and continue committing crime and come right back to us as quick as they are. But this would be putting 24/7 medical in the facility, putting somebody to administer the MAT program, again, an administrator oversee everybody in the scheduling. The company that we were looking to piggyback on for the emergency contract is WellsPath. They were Onondaga, they left Onondaga, a new company came in, and then Onondaga brought them back after 1 year. They are also in Oneida, and they're bidding Jefferson, Cayuga, and Wayne County, at least that I know of. One of their selling points to us is that when we're staffed here, if we had somebody calling sick, vacations, that if they have all these counties, they have a much bigger pool of people to pull from to fill in, so we would always have proper coverage. And it would be staffed with RNs and LPNs. Right now, we're only using LPNs, which is questionable because we can't get RNs. We haven't been able to get RNs for about 1.5 years at the money that we pay. So we've kind of lowered our standards to LPNs, and the doctor was working very aggressively, and the one nurse that just left us about a month ago, maybe a little over a month now, and she was a nurse practitioner that was running our MAT program and also overseeing a lot of the nursing. She was looking to come on full-time. We didn't get back to her within about 2 weeks with an answer for salary for her. When we called and told her we had an offer to potentially make to her, she said, "Oh, too late. I just got a call from Onondaga. I'm going to work for WellsPath," and left her stuff on the desk and walked out that night. We said, "Well, do you want to hear what our offer is?" And she said, "It won't compare."
And now we want to hire this company that just stole her to do our services?
Yes.
All right, I got 2 questions. Okay. One, I know we'll find spots for the people that you have working now, right? That's obviously a concern, right? How's those replacing?
They're gonna rely on us to recommend hiring them or not.
Okay. Oh, so they may hire them,
They probably would hire
and if not,
most of
we're
them.
gonna have to
'Cause
find a spot for them somewhere else in the county, right?
we have 5 LPNs. They're
LPNs.
proposing hiring 4 of.
Okay. And then 2, what's the cost variable between us staffing and this new 2.6 million? What are we paying now? What's budgeted now? Let me put it that way, not what we're paying, because we obviously can't hire the people. How much did we budget for this medical staff, as opposed to how much we're paying now? What's the difference, I guess?
Some of it's hard to pull out because a lot of it is overtime. We don't have 24-hour coverage, so on the midnight shift, if somebody's having chest pains, standing order, transport them. When they get transported, if they go to St. Joe's, it's 2 officers by contract on overtime sitting down there. So we have to pull those numbers out, and we've been working on it. But
The bare minimum in our current corrections just for medical is 1.5, probably a little over that, million. Their proposal, again, is, I believe, 2.6.
2.17.
So it's about $1 million
Yeah.
more.
But you have to also add the cost of overtime that we're throwing in there, and it's substantial. And
Transporting.
transport and
And our liability. Right.
liability is a big one.
We don't have people there now. Yes, ma'am.
Sheriff, hadn't you told us in the past that actually there's many times we're not in compliance with the medical? So I mean, that's another
Yeah, that
thing.
would be about 24/7. Right now, we're not.
Right, that's what so I say, we're not. To be that, we would have cost us even more, so I see it, we have no choice.
I mean, we're supposed to have RNs in there, we just can't hire.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to have a MAT director, and we don't. We got somebody doubling in that position.
So I don't see, it's a no-brainer, we have to do this.
So the question on the table is the next step, how will we do it? And I think we've resolved that.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to put a resolution form and
Moving forward.
for an emergency contract, and if I'm not mistaken, they said that they would require, they're gonna come in on an emergency basis. Was it at least a year
At
or?
least a year.
At least a year.
Yeah.
For them to,
Well, then we can go out for an RFP maybe 4 months before the contract ends and see.
Yeah.
If you want to stay with them or if there's somebody else.
Mr. Castillo?
What would be the difference between us paying enough to get the people versus hiring somebody from outside? I know that the benefits
I
doesn't,
understand exactly what you're saying.
you know,
I think the biggest problem we have is,
right, I know we're not paying well enough to keep them. I understand what you're saying there, to get an RN because.
right, it'd still be difficult to find them, I think, but if we're paying it, I don't know that we know what amount it would take to get to that.
I mean, how many RNs are we talking about?
well, we have 5 LPNs down
And we're supposed to have 5 RNs,
And then we're supposed to be RNs.
and then what else are we missing?
24-hour coverage. That is, we have no overnight coverage with that. It's lead stuff. They maintain, well, Pat maintains that by them coming in and having the 24-hour coverage, that they claim that they cut down transports out of the facility by about 75%.
I just like to see some comparison. I
No, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, right. If we paid, even if we paid the nurses, say, $150,000 a year to get RNs or whatever it was gonna take, are we gonna save money by raising the salaries and getting the people that we need to get?
You can't do it with the union. We have the same problem with hospice. The union won't allow you to pay one nurse more than another nurse.
Then we don't have a choice, let's just move this forward.
Yeah.
Let's
See
move
them all
this
the same.
forward.
Actually, WellsPath has actually encouraged us to get them to come in and do their presentation to you to explain everything much better than
Well, why don't we do that?
we can. And I have a 165-page book that they sent us after meeting with us and telling us what they would do and what they feel needs to be done, what they feel the salaries would be. I haven't gone through, so I read the whole book, but I haven't taken the numbers for the salaries that they're proposing and figured out exactly what that would be.
But they are more than willing to come in.
But it is here that I probably could figure that out.
Well, I mean, as we've always said, it doesn't matter because we have a roadblock in that we can't go through the union, so we have to hire a contractor to do it, right? So it's kind of like what happened with hospice, same kind of ballpark thing. Anybody got any other questions? Sounds like we're gonna have to do this. Good? Okay, what else?
One other thing, we had our initial meeting with the staff out of DSS after the Bonadeo group came in and recommended putting investigators out there. Again, same thing, we went into a police academy this time around, we can't fill spots. We just we've exhausted the list and people are going to other agencies rather than us. So with that being said, the proposal on the table is we're gonna try to do something with retired law enforcement, and it's gonna take a lot of work to get it through. But we're at least started sitting down with Stacy and her people to get some proposal drafted up. Well, again, that means we have to we have to meet the requirement. You have to be retired law enforcement, your certification's still good, and you have to live within the county.
It's a small window. Can we open that county issue up?
Yeah, let's open that up.
I'm working on it with Terry Wilbur through Barclay's office to get that. The county let's pass that, but it has to be carried through the state legislature. Right now, with budget issues.
Yeah.
So it will take probably at least a year to get that back.
I've suggested this, and I know you and I have had this conversation. I've had this conversation with her. I don't know, maybe issue, but if you hire retired guys, can you do them part-time, 3 days to 2 days? Because a lot of guys would come back if they're not committed for 5 days.
Yeah, the problem is the union contract stipulates that part-time employees cannot be hired for investigative work or security. So we got to get the union to waive it. There's a workaround. I don't want to talk about it today until.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a workaround.
Just trying to come up with ideas. Yeah. Anything else? Any other bad news?
Nope.
Got any good news? All right, let's get back on to fire coordinator then.
Through the month of March, coordinator's office had 86 activations, 30 structure fires, 8 hazmat, 14 fire investigations, 29 no responses, and 5 other. Couple things, Cascade truck update that we ordered last year. We got them to move it up into production, so it should be being built this month for delivery by the end of the month, and then it's got to go to the box manufacturer and then the company. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can still keep the other one running until even, I'm shooting for probably early, late fall, that should be here for delivery. The hazmat grant we applied for this year, waiting for a reply on that. I'm looking for some input in how to move these next 2 items. Capital projects. I've identified that we need to replace 16 new air packs with 32 cylinders for our hazmat team, 18 level A suits, update and replace old meter equipment, hazmat team, rough estimate about $458,000 to do that project alone. And then the second project is the emergency response training center. So I'm running out of room. My workload, I'll give you those numbers here in a second, has increased drastically. The outreach from the fire service and out of county fire service, our own fire service, on top of fire brigades that are in the county and companies that have fire brigades in them, the Novellis, the nuke plants, they're all coming to me now, coming to us, the county, for training. I'm running out of room. I'm starting to have to turn away. To give you an example, to date, we've done 100 classes there at the facility. We put 645 people through the facility with 454 hours of instruction hours given. So we're busy. This is some things that we've identified in the next budget or the next bullet there. Our burn building's 30 years old. It's constantly breaking down. We need to construct a 5-space and trench rescue props, construct an additional classroom with restrooms, parking lot. So the other day when the Novellis, the nuke plant, city BOCES, and even my own employees, we were parking wherever we could get a spot. There's no place to park now on the blacktop.
So is it, I'm sorry, let me just interrupt for a second. Is it classroom space you're looking for, or is it field space, like your training space?
It's field space. I'm good because from my understanding, we own the property behind, so we can expand. So when we go to expand, like the trench and find space props, we can push that to the back of the facility because we own all that. So the parking facility would be probably, for the people that have been there, we have the one parking lot down to the lower lot. I would take all out that whole grass area where our flagpole is and have that all blacktop. I'm not an engineer, I don't know how many spots, but I would say we would at least double our parking. It looks about the same size as what we have existing. So that would be one thing.
I think that's not as difficult as you think. We can talk to Highway and see.
I talked to him. They're busy too, so again, we gotta, it's hard.
Right.
So those are just some things. I mean, there's a cost probably still associated with that.
Sure.
So, so I'm looking to see how do I go about moving those projects forward. The AirPad, the hazmat one, that's simple. I know how to get equipment, but how would I look at, do we do an engineering firm to come in and take a look at what we got, what we want to do? How do we expand?
That's a good question. You know, that question's got to go to Phil.
Okay.
We generally start with an architect or engineer on anything over 5,000 under education law. So we would have them come in, do a spec, look at what's possible, what's not. Some of the bordering lands may be part of the hard fill. I'd have to pull the file on that property.
Okay.
But it would just be, how many square feet do you need? Is it a standalone building? Is it an addition? And then the parking, shooting grade and drainage and permits and all that.
I'm not ready to do that. So.
Rich and Phil would be your two
No,
go-to
they
guys.
just need to draw, see.
They'll point you in the right direction, and then you'll come back here for money.
Yes. Okay.
It'd be a capital project probably, facility. The tower, same thing, that needs repair or replacement.
The next item, burn ban's been in effect since March. It'll be done here mid-May. Just to bring you up to speed on that, we've had some large outdoor fires that have required many mutual aid responses within and outside the county. Air One has been used at 2 of them from Onondaga County because they were so remote. They came in and did bucket drops with their remote bucket. So it's been, people aren't following burn ban. The recruitment and retention that is always ongoing. Through the Fire Advisory Board in my office, we'll be conducting a junior firefighter restricted age program on July 8th at ERTC at 8 a.m. The attendees will be participating in training exercises throughout the day, including extrication, repelling, search and rescue, and hose line management. So this will be the first time this has ever been done for us in this county, and we're looking forward to it.
When is that?
July 8th.
Shane, I had an opportunity to attend the Redfield Fire Department's open house last Saturday, and there was nobody knocking down the doors to get in.
They're not.
They had a pretty good crew on hand, but I didn't see any newcomers.
There were other departments, Volney, I knew had one, Phoenix, or 2 at just top of my head right now, same scenario. People come down, they get their free hot dog, kick the tires, put kids on the fire truck, and they don't want the education.
I had my hot dog, so.
And another thing for this committee, we've identified a need for civilians to be to be able to join and participate in our county specialty teams. So for instance, like our hazmat team, we are potentially losing our chemist. She's presently a member with a volunteer fire department, but she's not meeting the requirements because of her job. That fire department is kind of letting it be for now, but if she loses that membership, she can no longer participate with the hazmat team because of the way it's been organized. So one of the things that we talked to the Fire Advisory Board was, and I dug into it, I attached that to this report, Broome County made just a resolution allowing that to happen. Obviously, we do a screening process, we make sure that we're not just taking any ordinary citizen off the street. They have to be able to contribute somehow. But I'm looking for this committee to help us move that.
So if you bring it forward, sounds reasonable.
Okay.
Just, you know,
Is that something
We can talk about it.
work
Yeah.
with you?
Yeah.
do your research, though. Make sure that we're not getting ourselves in the middle of something that.
It's my understanding Broome's been doing it for, I forget however many years, and they've not had an issue. It basically boils down to providing that person with workman's comp if they're injured. So,
Which would be.
But they don't fall under BFBL, that would be.
they don't fall under VFBL, so we're just taking, if you wanna come and be part of the trench rescue team as a citizen, if you're a carpenter, you have a skill set that we could use, and you would be covered if you were injured by the county's workman's comp, I assume, if you were injured on that act of emergency. Where VFBL, they're covered.
Understood.
Through that.
I got you. Anything else? Anybody got any good news today? No?
Yeah.
Lou, you wanna say anything since you're here? Yeah.
Not really, but, I'm working on the office and the office staff. Right now I have a secretary, an investigator, and one paralegal hired. I'm gonna be offering 3 more paralegals positions this week. I am having big trouble getting lawyers. The office has 10 spots for lawyers, including myself and the first assistant. I've had a total of 3 applications, 1 for the first assistant, 1 as just a general, and then 1 as part-time. So we're not going to be. I want to try and be up and running by June or July, taking cases. But with the amount of lawyers I have, we're not going to be really making much of a dent about what we can take. And so we have to figure out a way to find some lawyers.
Mark, why aren't we finding any lawyers? You can say it. You can say it. Go ahead.
Well, you got money problems,
We don't pay enough.
and you got location problems. You've got there aren't a lot of lawyers in county that
That's true.
want to go into public service. And it's a brand new office, so I would imagine there's probably a hesitancy to get involved in something that nobody has any idea what the.
We're advertising at like $70,000. What attorney's gonna come to work for us? That's the low end of the spectrum, right? So I think we're removing that now and trying to get a window, right? They can't, wasn't that the issue?
No, I was allowed to just list them without anything.
Now,
Say, hey,
after we get a
whatever.
response, right, yeah.
But, the ad's been out over 2 months, and we're not really getting anything. But I do, if I can get the first assistant in, that's a local person, that may be able to help with getting other people in through the door. We do have space in the Pathfinder building, I think we should be in there. Everything gets worked out this week before the end of the month, and that should help out a little too. But I have everything I need except lawyers. No issue with paralegals.
Whoever thought there'd be a shortage of lawyers in this country, right?
I would say that you just as a matter of common sense, you got to be careful if there's gonna be a wide variance between what you're paying the PDs and what you're paying the rest of the lawyers on government jobs. You're in the county. You're gonna have you may be penny wise and pound foolish, because if the PD's office is getting significantly more than the county attorneys and the DSS attorneys or our office, you're going to have a revolution on that end.
Well, there was nobody telling them not to apply. I mean, I don't think somebody can get mad about what somebody else is getting paid if they never applied in the first place. So, that's the way.
You can tell yourself that.
Well, no, it is. It's just the way it is. Why would I be mad for something that I never applied for that somebody else is getting?
Point taken. All right, any other questions? Any thoughts? Any other issues? Richard?
Just one, Sheriff, are we approximate number females that we're housing out every day?
13, 14, I think it's down now, maybe 10, 0.
3.
3 right now.
What's the driving force? What's the driving force of why all of a sudden we're having a social deviant problem with females?
Housing issue, and it's just.
That's not exactly the way I'd put it.
Well, it is what it is.
The pod holds the females, holds 12, I believe it is. So whenever we have over 12, we have to house them out.
I understand that.
So we're limited there. We've looked at trying to make changes, but then we would have to put them into our max pod, which is our more dangerous people down there. So then we put them into a more general cell. So the lieutenants are looking at the possibility of trying to change things around. But I think just overall, there's more females currently in. We're averaging about 20 in custody, it seems like. And again, 5 just went to state prison, I believe, last week. 3 we squeezed back in. So we're down, or 2 we've squeezed. So we're down to 3 in Ontario right now. But we were averaging about 10 there. But with the 5 going to state, it kind of brought it a little back under control.
I'm not so sure it has more to do. I think it has less to do with the actual females being more criminalized now than they were. I think it may have more to do with the handling of their cases has changed over the years. I mean, you're seeing more females going to state prison and being held than they used to.
Also, I think the bail reform, where they're not getting bailed, where they would come in and spend a couple days and then get released on time served and stuff, isn't happening as much, because now they're coming in when they have warrants for not appearing 5 or 6 court dates. So when they come in, now they're doing 60, 90 days as opposed to 5 and 6 days on each charge and then getting time served.
It's much tougher to get other facilities to take male inmates than it is female. So if we move the females to a bigger pod, it's just going to give us less beds for male inmates, and it's harder to house them out than it is.
Yeah, and I understand it. Going back just a little bit, what has changed that mommy's little girl is going out and getting in trouble?
It's not just females, it's the population in general, the inmate population. So it's just housing females is tougher
The male population was also up, just we had more room in the facility for male inmates than we did females.
I know everybody's planning on economic development with Micron and bringing us more residents. Would that not also bring us more incarcerated needs? So should we not be thinking perhaps of increasing the size of our prison?
I'm hoping that Micron isn't planning on hiring a bunch of criminals.
No, but when you get more people, the population goes up, your percentage is gonna stay the same. So, I mean, shouldn't that be something that perhaps we
Well,
need to
as
start
I said
looking at?
before, we're gonna start looking at getting the Corrections Commission in. Any construction in the facility has to be approved by the Corrections Commission. So we're gonna get them in first, and then maybe hire an architect to come in with that, the gymnasium, if we could do something. But I mean, it's a huge room down there that if we can maybe get some, bathroom facilities in there that we can use for housing.
Or maybe when we get around to doing the courthouse, we could tie something into that if we need to expand.
Yeah, what is the status with the courthouse?
We haven't heard back from.
Question. I think they selected the design. There's a meeting with the courts and the county earlier this year, but I haven't heard anything since.
'Cause I know, and I'm sure Mark can attest to this, and Lou, you're gonna learn that anytime we have to go out to Pulaski for a trial, it's just, one, it's a pain in the ass, but it costs us about $10,000 in overtime, and Terry Wilbur loses about $12,000 in revenue by us running the trial out there, and safety-wise, it's just security, it's a mess. We're short court space.
Understood. Herb, you had something?
Originally, when that jail was built on a pod system so you could add to it. That was originally when they built back in early 1990. That was a pod system so you could add on to that. I think we gotta think serious about putting in more beds and building an addition on that facility. I think that makes sense to me.
I think Mo started to look at that, but then Ballard Farm came, and everybody thought, oh, we're gonna lower the population. And we warned everybody that it was at first gonna lower the population, and it did. We were bare bones for a while there, but, well, yeah, people stopped showing up for court appearances, as the undersheriff said, then it just leads to a huge increase in population. Because people aren't getting time served.
I heard count on some because they're just cuffs.
I should like to mark, as far as the population of females, our numbers have gone up significantly over the last few years. We have many more females on probation.
How's that new program that they expanded? Is that working?
It is very good.
All right, we did that last year, right? It was a grant. Yeah. Okay, terrific. All right, is there anything else?
Motion adjourned.
I got one.
Oh, you got something, Kev?
I do. I just want to put this back since you're back, Matt.
Oh.
We wanted to see, Kevin and myself had a conversation last month. We'd like to host next month's public safety committee meeting down at EMO. There's some changes in the 912 center that Kevin wanted to show, as long as bring our emergency communications trailer and then potentially a drone flight or two, just to give you guys that. If it can't happen next month, it can happen the following month. You guys have any objections, any opinions?
Anybody have any thoughts on that? I don't care.
We've done it every year.
Yeah, we've done it at least once a year anyway,
Yeah.
so, okay.
I appreciate that.
Is there, what's the date on that? Is there gonna be warm weather?
June.
Yeah.
Let's shoot for June, we can push it to July.
Yeah, fair. I think it comes through.
Should be.
Should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, just real quick, I saw an email from probably on that to get it yet for, Mike's Hallway is arranged for a jail visit or a tour of the jail Wednesday at 6. If anybody's interested, I would suggest at some point getting down there to see what we've done with the remodel. And I also open that up to other department heads that have never been in there.
Wednesday,
Is it
May
this one?
6th?
No, this Wednesday.
Oh.
Yeah, probably, Lou, would probably be a good idea for you to come down there.
Wednesday at 6.
You mean 1800, right?
Yes,
600, okay.
yes, sorry.
May 3rd.
This Wednesday, 6
Yes.
p.m.
All right, now we'll look for the appropriate motion if everybody's done.
Still me.
Thank you. There you go. Dismissed.